You can see a lot of things in an airborne unit if the airborne unit drops into a combat situation, but you'll mostly see death. He's pretty well armed. If he wants to kill us, in this specific incident, he was a safety hazard for my fellow soldiers, so he had to go. The problem is humans have what they call a fight or flight response. You're either going to run away or you're going to stand your ground and fight. You don't know what that is until you're in the situation that you have to provide it.
I'm a king.
What's going on, folks? Your boy CP. Got my rally on. I don't really do too many family members on the show. You know, I want to definitely highlight my cousin. No, he's one of the two. He came in a set. You know what I'm saying? So he's my twin cousin Tyrone, decorated soldier. Definitely was in the Army for many years. Retired. Been deployed 9 times. Was an Army Ranger. Let them know a little bit about you and your skill set.
I don't like to brag about the time in the Army, but you accomplish what you accomplish. You do what you have to do for the people you're with and the people around you. Being in the Army is just like normal life. Soldier on, period. Um, I went through the Ranger orientation program instead of the Ranger indoctrination program, which is slightly different. There's 2 versions of that Rangers go through to be in the battalion to act as an Army Ranger. I was infantry and I was also a mechanic in the Army. You can change MOSs, which is your job skill set, your military occupation skill set. And I did that midway through my career because of all the. I thought that it would be easier to be a mechanic than it was to be an infantry and to be an Army Ranger, but turns out being a mechanic was harder.
So, being in the Army Ranger, we were talking earlier about why not go like the Green Beret route, uh, and you were telling me about like what it takes. You pass the testing, right, to be a Green Beret, but like I don't think people understand like the other part. Like everyone always just thinks of like the physical endurance of what you have to do, but all the other shit that comes along with like wanting to be a Green Beret.
Okay, so the Green Berets, which I was never one of, I've never been U.S. Army Special Forces personnel operator, as they like to say in modern terms. Um, I've never been anybody special in the Army. I was a regular soldier in regular units that fought regular war. I'll break it down how these special forces work, right? So you have your Army Green Berets. They wear the Green Beret given to them by President Kennedy during Vietnam. They are an they're a guerrilla warfare unit, which means their job primarily consists of teaching guerrilla warfare to foreign fighters to either overthrow despot governments or to help fight a guerrilla war in the jungle against narco people who are killing, innocent people in villages, things like this. Um, the Navy SEALs, for instance, like their counterterrorism teams, their Team 6, they do counterterrorism operations, for instance, that fight actually against terrorists. While Special Forces Green Berets don't actually, well, they all fight, but they don't fight against terrorists. They help insurgencies develop, form, and are taught. The difficulty of the courses are usually based off of academics and not physical capability. To be an Army Special Forces, you have to learn languages. You have to read, write fluently. You have to be able to teach and instruct fluently in that language and have complete understanding of it. Most people do not speak those languages when they start. So these people are exceptionally smart. And the physical capability is only a part of it. They have a huge thing called Robin Sage at the end where they do it's based on your ability to conduct teamwork with the team that you'll be assigned to and the current members of the team. And so because of this, you really are special because you have to fit in that team with that job at that time for those needs. Well, a lot of people pass the test, a lot of people pass everything, but not everybody's selected to go to a team because they may not fit that team. And if those are the only teams available, then you get moved on and you get passed on. You can re-go through the entire course, which a lot of people do over and over again until they get selected, or most of the time they don't. So I went through what they call the SFAS, which is we refer to it as the sore feet and shoulders. But it's the Special Forces, I think it's Acuity something or other. I forget, it's been a long time. But it's mainly a qualification course to attend the school. So what people see on TV, the hardest part where they're like, like if you see the SEAL team training where they're doing the logs and they're doing PT and they're fake drowning the guys in the pool and all these other things. And in Army Special Forces training, it's roughly similar. I bring up the Navy SEALs because that's what everybody knows and sees and can reference. Special Forces guys don't normally videotape their training. They're not as popular as the Navy SEALs. Just be honest, right? Navy SEALs have movies and TV shows.
Yeah. Well, they did come up with that Army Ranger, that Restrepo movie, and all that stuff that they have. But
Yeah.
SEALs are definitely the most famous.
Back in the day, just a little history on this. So the Special Forces qualification course, you qualify for this course. You qualify through SFAS for the Q course, which is the qualification course, to actually begin your training. Most people fell out of that. That's a physical acuity is gone. They drop out. Drop rate is extremely high. I think it's like almost 70-80%, some of that effect. I'm sorry. Apologies. The 70-80% dropout effect is for academics after you pass the course, the physical course. It's not about the beginning qualifications. Most people don't do that because they physically don't have the willpower. They're not pushing you. They're pushing you to your limits and past your limits, but they're not pushing you as far further than you can go. And the people who quit aren't mentally capable of continuing that job because they cannot be a person who can quit. You have to be someone that's always going to try. You're always going to find a way. You will always win. That is what a special forces operator is. Someone who's always going to win. Now, Army Rangers, we tend to take airfields. So the Marines will take, and Force Recon will recon a beachhead, and the Marines will take the beachhead so that the Navy can build ports. That's their job. The U.S. Army Rangers take airfields and airplanes so we can secure air travel for said troops, while Navy secures said travel for Marines on the boats and supplies. The Special Forces are in the same country at the same time, kicking up an insurgency to overthrow the government, while the Navy SEALs are killing all the people that could possibly kill us. And so all together, they form the Joint Special Operations Command headed in Florida, all under one command. Because if you've ever heard of what happened in Panama when we kicked out Nicaragua, who was the dictator in Panama, right? That's exactly how it went down. The Marines landed on the beach, secured the beachhead. The Rangers secured the airfield. The regular infantry secured all the personnel. The Air Force Pararescue Commandos helped rescue all the hostages. And everybody filled their role perfectly. If you look at the operation in Grenada, it failed miserably. Grenada was an operation where the Rangers took the airfield and didn't realize that the SEALs had taken the airfield and they were fighting the SEALs. And then the regular Marines were fighting the infantry soldiers that were trying to rescue the things because they were wearing a new tiger stripe clothing that didn't match. Because when you wear different clothing, your homies can't tell who you are.
So you were airborne infantry.
Yes.
Infantry.
Yes.
So being airborne and having to drop out of a plane and drop into a battlefield, tell us, because we're really trying to get at is, part of it is, it's great to get this knowledge, but then like really wanted to hit on like PTSD and how different soldiers deal with trauma. And like half our family is military, right?
Yeah.
Like my dad was in the Navy and Air Force. His father's retired Air Force. My stepdad was in the Navy. You are in the Army, or were in the Army. Your brother was in the Navy. Our cousin out here was in the Air Force. Her husband was in the Navy. Your sister's husband was in the,
he was in the Army. We're stationed together.
And came back again. His brothers were Army or Air Force as well. I mean, but just like our cousin Fernard, he got to E9 Master Gunnery Sergeant in the Marine Corps, like just running them down. But
and my grandfather fought in World War II for the same unit I deployed with during Iraq and Afghanistan war.
And so large family and military. For me, I had I wouldn't call myself a civilian, but my allegiance was to something different. But I just wasn't for the military. I don't, you have to be someone who can who does well with authority, and I just at the time didn't do well with authority, and I also didn't want to get up at 4 or 5 in the morning and run shit. I don't know. That was a part of it. But being airborne infantry, tell us about that.
Okay, so I would say being a leader in the military is difficult. Being airborne infantry, you jump out of planes. When you jump out of an airplane, the attrition rate for death is very high in the air because you're just floating. It's not like in a movie where you have controls and you're landing it in a specific location. You drop out of the plane, you land where you land. You're also carrying a parachute with you because here's a funny story about combat, right? If you lose your parachute, you got to pay for it. So,
How much is a parachute when you have to pay for it?
mm-hmm.
You have to pack your own parachute too?
No,
right?
no, no.
Or
We
do
have
you
a
don't have to
parachute rigging company, and the parachute riggers actually have to have their name tag attached to their parachute because if you die because they were drunk last night or fighting with their wife and they were tired in the morning packing your parachute, they get to go to prison for killing you.
Mm.
The same way a mechanic in the army doesn't do his job and your MRAP or your vehicle rolls over and you die, that mechanic goes to prison.
Mm.
That is a crime. You're derelict in duty and it caused death. That's negligence.
Damn it! I didn't know all that. That's good information. So you up there floating in the air, and motherfuckers trying to shoot you down.
That's right. It's a good time.
And you made it. Did you make it to the ground and then saddle up? Like, but I mean, you're trying your best to land with your platoon, right? Like,
What you do is you, if you're like me and you're scared of heights, right?
shit.
You jump out the airplane with your eyes closed because you ain't got to pull nothing. The chute comes out the second you jump. And then you know how long it takes to hit the landing because you jumped from this height previous times before. And you open your eyes every couple of seconds to make sure, you're still floating. And then right when it gets to the time, you conduct your parachute landing fall, you fall and do your little roll, you pack a parachute and you move on. And yes, if you keep your eyes open, you'll see other people get shot. If you keep your eyes open, you'll see people fall out of the air. If you keep your eyes open, you'll see a guy that gets blown into a pile of rocks and breaks his back. A guy that gets blown into the ocean during training or into the Tigris River and drowns because his parachute gets tangled.
I'm trying to figure out the logic of
An airborne drop?
yeah.
Okay, so airborne drops are very popular in World War II because they just invented airplanes. There was no anti-air defense systems
Okay.
because they didn't exist because there was nothing in the air but birds.
Okay.
So over the course of the same technology, airborne has become a antiquated system of deployment for soldiers. The same way when I joined the Army, I was a light infantryman, and light infantrymen walked everywhere. But now we ride in Strikers or MRAPs, like this, which makes us what they call a modular force. The air assault happened because they would rappel out of helicopters in Vietnam, the 101st Airborne. And the reason they did that was because jungles are too thick with trees to handle parachutes.
So, but other thing I'm trying to figure out is if you're scared of heights, what the fuck make you want to be a airborne soldier?
Okay, so there are three motivations to be an airborne soldier. One, cool shiny shit on your uniform up here
shit.
when you're in your dress blues that everybody else knows what you did and it looks cool. Everybody always wants to look cool. And that's because, if you earn a medal, you earn it. You earn a badge, you earn it. You want to display it. The other thing is you get hazardous duty pay and airborne pay, which is $350 for like kind of every on your check for the rest of your life. And just like anybody who takes on any additional task at their job, you get extra pay supposedly, and that benefits your family. So if I'm already in the job where I have to kill people and jump out of airplanes, I mean, it's just not that big of a leap.
I heard the fuck out of that. So y'all, it's still for me. I mean, I guess like so airborne is not really as big of a thing anymore. It's kind of outdated. It's a better way to get soldiers to the ground.
We did 2 combat jumps into the Iraq theater as an army during the Iraq War, and the safest combat jumps in the history of the United States Armed Forces. And I would like to say that anybody that got hurt, it was an accident. We're sorry. You hit a building or something, and it's just your own fault. But no one shot at you because we had already taken Baghdad like 2 years before.
Well, shit. Yeah. Well, but I mean, but you've been in situations where they were shooting at you.
I've been in situations in the air when they were shooting at us. Yes. People will shoot at you, and most of the time they can't hit you. I usually have my eyes closed because I don't want to look at the ground. And if you shot me, there's nothing I can do about it anyway.
Shit, you got the little things when you're on the parachute that you can go left, right.
So here's the thing, right? The biggest thing about being in a war, other than that it's all a crime, is that, how can I put it? Every civilian who's never been in a war always thinks they know when they're going to fucking die. You don't know when you're going to die. I know a guy who deployed 4 times through the hardest places in the country. He earned a Silver Star for it. And when he died, it's because he took a bullet under his helmet going to take a shit.
Hmm. How did that happen?
Sniper.
Damn it.
You remember, you can't see him. And when a bullet's fired far away and you can't hear the muzzle go off, the round go off, all you see is your friend fall down next to you and you don't know what's wrong with him until you find where the blood's coming from.
Hmm.
When you walk to breakfast in the morning, you could die. When you go to the bathroom, you could die. When I leave my room, I could die. When I'm in my room, I could fucking die. That kind of stress weighs on you after a while.
So how do you? I mean, with even then, I remember when I was young, when I was kind of a kid, you used to tell me about this stuff, and you was like, man, you know, because you always been in leadership. I mean, you got out as an E8, right? And you used to say, man, like if I tell someone to breach that door or run head first through that wall, they're gonna do it. And if they don't do it, they can get shot on the battlefield. But just like being in these situations and trying to do your best to protect your platoon, your squadron, your like just but even like oh let's just go to even the first time you knew you were going to war, like what kind of preparation is that like mentally, like you scared, you nervous, like
It's just like anything. Imagine that you have to prepare somebody for your job. If you did it all correctly, you're going to be fine in a normal job. In the Army, even if you do it all correctly in a war zone, you still might die. Because the thing that you have to realize is when you're fighting an enemy that's an entire country, you don't know what everyone did that morning before they left their house. Did I pack an AK-47 and my bubble gum? Did I get my keys and my grenade launcher? You see what I mean? And in an insurgency, anyone is the enemy that has a gun, but not everyone. You see, it's a nice, cute little rhyme, right? Because you have a gun and gun ownership is legal in that country, it doesn't make you an enemy. I have to wait till you point your gun at me. So there's a rules of engagement there. So that's where the rules of engagement come in. You can't shoot everybody. Now, when it comes to soldiers and that effect, like you were mentioning, which you said, sometimes you got to tell people to go die. The thing is, you're not protecting your people. You are doing your best to accomplish the mission that you were given. You're doing your best to keep your people alive to accomplish the mission that was given. Do you understand?
right.
For for instance, the Army's requirement and policy on who goes to die first, if you have to choose someone to go die, is the youngest and the lowest rank. They have the least experience. They have no secret knowledge. They don't have no passcodes. And even if they live, they would be useless to the Army for at least 2 to 3 years before they have enough experience to do anything. So because of that, the youngest and the lowest ranking go first.
So they the torpedo.
They're the cannon fodder. They're the pawn on the chessboard. If I was in a biological attack or a chemical attack and we didn't know how the agents were hitting the people, we would tell the youngest private to take off his clothes. And if he was okay, then we're all okay. If he died, then we just wait and get the next youngest private to take off his clothes. And if he died, then we've got to keep him on. And if, because we're wearing protective gear for chemical hazards or biological hazards or weapons. But just for instance, in that environment, a person would have to literally take it off and die so that we can rest just keep it on.
It's a cold game to join the military. God damn. Let's just send me to die. So, but like dealing with choices in life, right? Like and seeing what you see, like being on the battlefield, seeing so much death, right? Or like we were talking earlier, you were starting to kind of get into it earlier. You're like, man, you see a bunch of these guys and it's the first time firing a weapon or doing something. Like, how do even having people? I'm pretty sure people wigged out on the battlefield, right? They just did something or they
People
just
wigged
seen
out.
someone.
I had a soldier wig out. We're in Kuwait waiting to go into the battlefield. Um, it took all of us just giving him live ammunition. See, the thing is when it becomes real for you is the moment you have an experience all on your own. The first time they hand you bullets and you realize that you're going to be shooting people and that people will be shooting at you, It's hard for some people. They can't take it. They don't understand.
This ain't Halo. This ain't Call of Duty.
Exactly. So I had a soldier who, first time we gave him bullets, he just broke down and started crying and looked at me, and he was a 6'2" Tongan from the island of Tonga. He used to play for University of Hawaii. He was swoller than swole. Big old dude, looked tough as nails.
You know, loving people.
Broke down like a baby, started crying and said, Sergeant, I didn't participate in any training. I was always shamming and scamming off. And I'm afraid I'm going to die because I don't know what to do when we go out there. Because guess what? When you shirk doing your responsibility and you shirk doing your job, now your life is at stake and my life is at stake because you didn't plan ahead last year or 6 months ago or 3 months prior. You thought getting out of work was work. And now you have to go do work. And the Army work, infantry is killing people. It is occupying territory. It is accomplishing the mission. Be you the lone survivor.
So what ended up happening to him?
We psychologically had to medically kick him out of the Army. He didn't even last 2 weeks in the safe zone. He had to leave. Because he's an immediate threat to the safety of every person around him. Today he's crying. Tomorrow he could be shooting his way out to get away. I mean, he's got live bullets, 6 grenades, you know what I mean?
Right.
You know, a hatchet, a handgun, and a shotgun. You know, like, he's pretty well armed if he wants to kill us. And these are our fellow soldiers, and I'm not saying that they normally would. That's not something that normally happens. Fratricide is very frowned upon and not something that normally goes down in the Army. But in this specific incident, he was a safety hazard for my fellow soldiers, so he had to go.
You just slap the shit out of motherfucking and tell him, you get it together, son.
You can't. Because the thing is that
training.
There's no amount of shocking someone with a hit or anything like that that's going to make someone want to go into a fight. See, the problem is humans have what they call a fight or flight response. You're either going to run away or you're going to stand your ground and fight. You don't know what that is until you're in the situation that you have to provide it. So the first time a bullet goes by and something blows up, some people tense up and then react. Some people immediately flee. Some people immediately fight.
They tried to blow your ass up one time, right? They were like, I think you told me, like, I think, weren't you in Iraq? And it was like, you guys had this route that you guys would patrol, and like somebody in the middle of the night or something, they cut off the little block.
So what they would do is this was a standard practice in the country after a certain amount of time. What would happen is they would cut. We had what we call, after a couple of years into the war, we had concrete barriers lined on the side of every road. So if you went to every road throughout the entire country of Iraq, there was a concrete barrier that was about 15, 20 feet high along the side of each road, protecting our routes that we drove on daily. What would happen is they got wind of this, and what they would do is they would cut chunks out of the concrete wall, and they replace hollow C-shaped pieces of copper packed with C4. Now, if we all know copper, then we know copper is a wonderful electricity magnifier. It just magnifies electricity and creates electricity. Hence your alternator in everyone's car, right?
Right.
What happens when you have rifled copper spinning at an explosive rate in the opposite direction of the polarity of the planet? You create an electric magnetic pulse that superheated piece of metal is not just melting everything on its way through your vehicle, but it's shutting down all your electronics.
So they blew the damn, was it a tank or like the military vehicle?
So they blew, it wasn't even blown up. It would just melt on its way through. And, well, pieces of your vehicle can't melt or you won't be able to use it. This I promise you.
The craziest stories I ever heard was, I had a buddy of mine, his uncle came and talked, and he said, man, he had like he had a platoon or whatever, and they were in like, I don't know if they were in Korea or they were somewhere, and it was like, they'll use people as like human meat shields. It was like, it was this little baby that was crying or whatever, right? And there was a lady that was a military soldier, and like someone pushed the little baby into the street, right? And the little baby was crying. She's like, oh, come here. And she gave the baby a hug, and the baby was strapped with a bomb and blew up on her.
Yes.
Killed them both.
This was a frequent activity in Iraq where they would tell the children that they were going to go to heaven and that they were going to help their families go to heaven if they would allow themselves, well, they didn't really have a choice, to be strapped with bombs and walk. They used to also cut open the skin along the fat on the backs of dogs and stuff explosives in them and have them come and blow up when they walk next to our walls and next to our guards and things. It was a horrible situation that they use their religion, which Islam is not, to enforce upon these things that human suicide bombs, animal suicide bombs. And what was the point of it? At halftime, they didn't hit nothing. So you just lost your child and he's supposedly going to heaven, but what did you get out of it? You got nothing. What did your child get out of it? Your child passed away.
So
See what I mean?
experiencing all these things though, then you come back from deployment to the regular world and you did
So
it
I
9
need to
deployments,
change
which
this
is
one.
a lot more than the average person probably did. When
Sometimes.
when when you come back to the regular world and you have to live a regular person's life, like how do you, what's a B, how do you deal with the visions, the memories, the dreams, or whatever? Like just the, you know, you always see all these people with PTSD, like the movie with the guy who was a, what was he, a sniper or something? He would shoot or whatever. He was helping people with PTSD, the American Sniper
Mm-hmm.
dude. And then he took the guy to the gun range. The guy just turned and pulled the gun on him. He wanted to kill somebody, or maybe he just wanted to kill the dude because he was highly decorated. I don't know. But you deal with people with PTSD and like snapping or freaking out. Like how do you control that, or like control that feeling, or like how did you deal with your PTSD versus the other man?
Okay, so these are not things that one can naturally control because, well, to be able to control something, you have to have experience with it, knowledge, wisdom, or experience, right? Or the combination, which usually makes wisdom. To deal with anything, you have to have someone who's experienced before you have had the experience for yourself. Um, Dealing with PTSD was hard for the people, the warfighters of my generation, especially because it had been ignored in every previous generation. And because of this, there was no way to learn to deal with it. So, me, for instance, I didn't deal with it. I went full on crazy like everybody else that came back that had to deal with stuff. And the end result for me was a stay in a mental institution. But I did receive help there. What happened was is I got help from the only person who's experienced war as much as an American soldier at the time. And this is a wonderful woman. I don't recall her name at the moment. She's an Israeli doctor who developed a procedure called the elonged exposure technique. I believe that E ERD, yeah, a elonged exposure technique. Let's just call it that because it's very descriptive. It's damn near the name. I'm sorry, it's been a long time, but it's very descriptive of what it did. So she had developed a practice for PTSD in Israel, where they were always fighting on the Gaza Strip since, I don't know, the invention of the country. And so because of this, they manage PTSD excessively well. So what they do is this, oh, I'm sorry, prolonged exposure technique. The PET, prolonged exposure technique, is a technique where you write out the emotionally traumatic situations that you're in and that you experienced, or you talk them out and you listen to it or read it over and over again, eliciting every emotion that you feel during those times. Every extreme emotion runs through your body, and it's extremely hard because it happening once made you crazy, right? Made me crazy. And then it happening every day after that was a flashback. It happening every day in the hospital was me doing it to myself on purpose. So it's not like you're extremely motivated to try this technique or keep it performing for a long period of time. But over time, you begin to recognize the incident and not the feeling. The feeling behind the incident starts to minimize and then slowly disappear to where you're not emotionally charged when it happens. So I can be at my job at currently where I work in a warehouse, and I could smell something that would trigger a PTSD moment. Oh, about your question about PTSD, I'll answer the best I can. Here's the best thing with treatment for PTSD is you got to do something different, right? This is the one thing I learned. You got to do something different. The D is always the most important part, right? So the D stands for disorder. Your memories and your emotions are disordered. They're out of time. I shouldn't be feeling something from 2014 and 2026. I shouldn't be feeling it just as strongly as it did in 2014. Those people, that situation, those things don't no longer exist. That moment in time has passed, but it just didn't pass for me. I'm always there. Some part of me is always there. Once you realize that, once you do that, then it's over.
Oh.
And you have to do something different. You have to choose something different. If you choose to do something different, you can make your life better.
Sure.
Because instead of, and I heard this from a guy in prison, think long and you think wrong.
It sounds like, I mean, you got a new vice, which is like something you always loved doing anyway, surfing.
The vice for me was my children. Spending time with my children allowed me to recover from PTSD because they always have something different to do. And I just agreed to do it with him. I just never told him no. That's all it was. Play my game with me, okay. Play soccer with me, okay. Go ride a bike with me, okay. It's better than sleeping on the couch and thinking about death.
That's real. Well, I appreciate you. I know we in a time crunch. I appreciate you popping out and giving me the time, man. Giving me some conversation.
All day.
We gotta go, man. Shots with Shooter, your boy CP, and we'll make.
I'm a king.